Well, good morning, and we're a bit late on the air this morning, and of course, as usual, the reason is technical. Is I just couldn't get the legs of my little tripod to get into the right place, so the camera didn't topple over. So my apologies for that. But it's funny. I was making sure that. Hang on. You want to look at the fire? Yes, there, isn't it wonderful? Whether, in fact, you can see me after that, I have no idea. Let's have a look. Oh, there, well, yeah, some of you say that's not a bad scene, Keith. That's all we want to see of you. Anyway, good morning and welcome to another rant. And looking at the egg there, I remembered reading in Gulliver's Travels, when I'm much younger, of course, because you tend to put those books aside, and it's a pity, really. But, of course, it's Swift's take on the politics of his day. And one of the things that he found in amongst the elite when he was travelling around was the big debate was whether they cracked their egg at the small end or the large end. And of course it was a take on the politics of the day of the Whigs and the Tories, I guess. But I thought, his take on politics then is just as silly as our take today. Well, what a bunch of people we've got. And really, whether you crack the egg at the small end, the pointy end, or the round end, is really just almost says what it's all about today. It's absolutely astonishing how our politicians, I don't care which colour you are, you could be red, green, pink, blue, azure, any colour that you want out of the rainbow, and they're all as daft as one another. I mean, it's just so silly. The funny thing is that also, it's not just in the UK. It's right around the world. We've got silly politicians, and the fact of the matter is that established politicians do not learn. And the first thing that the Democrats are going to do, right? They've just taken control of the House of Representatives. What are they going to do, right? Are they going to say, my goodness me, let's look at some of the things that Trump has done that are right, increase the jobless numbers, found jobs, strengthened the economy, taken a few of the US's enemies to task. It doesn't matter what else he may have done, but those are the positive things. Do you think that they're going to address those? No, they have not learned. So the Democrats are going to investigate Ivanka Trump's emails. Yeah, I'm going to vote for them. Investigate emails. You can't make it up, can you? You can't find any dafter people than in politics. And they run us. They rule us. I'd love to say they govern us, but they don't. They just run us. They rule us. The whole point of what's happened in world politics and the backlash, whether you're talking about Italy, whether you're talking about Germany, whether you're talking about Northern Europe, whether you're talking about here, the United States or Canada, is the whole point is the established parties, the established politicians have got it wrong. And we're fed up with it. And we're looking for positive action that shall improve the quality of our lives, not get so involved in stupidity that it doesn't do us any good whatsoever. So what have the Democrats done? Oh, they've learned the lesson. They've really learned the lesson. Let's investigate Ivanka Trump's emails. I don't give a fig what Ivanka Trump has got in her emails. Unless she actually sort of said to Russia to come and knock on the door and invade, I really don't care. And nobody else does, I don't think, except for one or two people who have got nothing better to do than gossip. Come on, established parties, established politicians, wherever you are in the world, start to do the positive thing. If you're in opposition, what you should do is you should be looking very carefully at what the government is doing. Leave the good things, have a go at the bad things. But all this business has very little to do with the electorate. It's just so much time-wasting rubbish, but also undermining not only confidence in politicians, which is wafer thin at the moment, but also in your own parties. You're not doing anything as established parties. Oh, that was a good rant to get started, wasn't it? Talking about Trump, is the big news internationally is that he's actually more or less said to the Saudis, if you actually did knock off Khashoggi, the journalist that was criticising you, it's not going to make much difference. We're not sure that perhaps you did it after all. In other words, what he said is, listen, we can't do without your natural resources. Okay, let's stay mates no matter what you've done that's naughty. That's a bit naughty in itself. But the fact of the matter is that some 60 journalists, and this is before the end of the year, and that's more than ever before, have been knocked off one way or another in various parts of the world. And, when you think about it, parts of the world that we would think were civilized, Malta, they've been done for reporting. And in some ways, isn't it interesting, because I think what it says to me, despite the tragedy of people losing their lives, is that journalism is alive and well in many parts of the world, but generally speaking it is not in the civilized part of the world. I skim through the headlines every morning before I turn on this little rant. And I look at some of the media. I'm not going to name them, but there are at least 3 newspapers in the United Kingdom of which I would be thoroughly ashamed if I thought that people overseas were gauging us by what we can read there. I mean, they just can't stop beating one particular drum, and they don't beat it particularly well. What they do is they start to find all sorts of stories that support one particular view. I mean, and it gets just damn silly. And it's not just me in the profession that thinks that. I spent yesterday a lovely place. There is a pub in Soho, it's on Dean Street, called the French House. And the pub downstairs is a good old battered English pub, and it's got its regulars and it's always packed. But upstairs is a restaurant, and the restaurant was very good. I can remember once. I mean, it's very, very small. You can virtually bounce off one wall into another. And in fact, my friend Graham and myself, who went there, we started to talk to the people at the next table because it was that close. And the last time I was there, Timothy Spall was there, and so you just chat whoever is sitting next to you. But the restaurant now, it went down for a bit because of the chef. Now it's got a first-class chef back, and the food is first class. And I'll come back to journalists in a moment, because basically we were talking about the state of journalism, and it really is in a very poor state. I was talking to somebody who assesses these things, who isn't a journalist, and he said, the thing is that people went into journalism in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. The intellectuals went into journalism, and there was a very, very high standard, and you found leaders, editors, if you like Harold Evans of the Sunday Times, Sir Harold Evans, who only left because of the fact that Rupert Murdoch took it over, and Rupert wanted to go down a different route, and God bless Harold Evans, he stuck to his guns, and he said, I'm sorry, the Sunday Times is a first-class newspaper, and it was an excellent newspaper in the 70s and the 80s. And he wouldn't budge, and so Rupert got rid of him, and it's a pity, because to me that was an end of an era. But this chap who analyses such things said, that now a lot of people go into politics, or they go into industry, because that's where the money is. You don't make money in journalism anymore, and the challenge has gone. So actually what you do is you get the second and the third class brains in minds in journalism. I think that's right, because if you go from some broadcasters down to the newspapers, it is sad that there isn't a greater level of competence and ability in the media at the moment. However, 56 and coming up to 60 people now have died practicing journalism in various parts of the world. So one must be grateful that there are people that have put their head on the line. But, for every one of those, there are another dozen or so of us who are useless. Well, I'm sorry about that. These are the people that we should be fighting, and in some parts of the world we are, but not really in this country. All we do is we say, "Oh, isn't it dreadful that it's Wild West London, it's Wild West Britain. Look at all the people that are being hacked to death and shot and so on." So, quite right, we should highlight it, but actually, within seconds we're back on the political scene. Which is rubbish. Now back to the French House, because I had yesterday, as a starter, Brain. And it was magnificent. And the last time I had Brain was in Romania, and that has got to be 18 years ago, 19 years ago. Yeah, you couldn't get it in this country, partly because of EU regulation, but partly because people believed that if you ate Brain, you could get mad cow disease. Oh no, yeah, it is mad cow disease, isn't it? Yes. So it went off menus, but here it is back on the menu, which makes me think that there may be other things on the way back that have been banned. For instance, bone marrow is very, very good if it's cooked properly. And also, there was a wonderful way of getting a pork chop, because you could get it with a piece of liver embedded in it, and it was a most delicious meal. So are those things going to come back onto menus again? I sincerely hope so. If we're going to leave the EU, to me there's got to be some benefit, and that's one of them. So watch out for things coming back onto the menu. They certainly are at the French House, and not only that, for the heart of London, the bill was exceptionally good for a bottle and a half of wine, a three-course meal. It was under £50 a head, and in London, that's remarkable. That's quite remarkable. But you have to cook. But you have to book well ahead, because it's a very small restaurant, and first come, first served. I don't normally plug places, but I was sure impressed by that. But also, of course, the company, and being able to talk about my favourite topic, journalism. Right. Lots of things to talk about this morning, and of course I'm running out of time as usual. But one of the things I did researching a story of the past, I was quite amused that at the time of Julius Caesar's invasion of Britain in 54 BC, that actually at that time the Romans didn't believe that Britain existed. They thought that it was a myth, that it was something that the historians or the storytellers had made up. And even those who actually did acknowledge that there was something somewhere, they thought that when you left France or Gaul, you tipped off the edge of the earth. So I'm beginning to wonder is perhaps that's the status that we should return to, a land of mystery. And actually, when you try to get here, you tip off the end of the earth. It's amazing, isn't it, how things change over a couple of thousand years. We exist. We're not the land of mystery anymore, but that's what the Romans thought until Caesar actually planted his foot ashore. And actually, that's a funny story, because at school we were all taught that the Romans came, this hyper-efficient army, and it was a comedy of errors. He didn't do his homework. His boats were racked up. They were swamped. They'd never seen a chariot before. Oh, it's some tale, I'll tell you. It is some story, which I intend to sell at some stage on Mirador Television, miradortelevision.com. Do check in. We do get a few things that are of interest. But anyway, from the land of mystery, because I could rabbit on all morning about all sorts of things, from the land of mystery, England, because then they hadn't discovered the Scots or Ireland. from England, land of mystery. Toodle pip.